Imagine standing in the middle of a really bustling hospital administrative wing.
Oh, like constant chaos.
Right, exactly. You've got the busy nurses station, quiet waiting rooms, maybe some buzzing pagers. But overlaying all of that, just completely covering it, is this massive glowing matrix of spreadsheet numbers.
Yeah, the invisible nervous system of the whole place.
Exactly. And I mean, if you are the administrator managing that wing, the unspoken expectation is that you can just read that matrix as easily as you read a book.
Uh-huh.
So welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
We have a mission today that, hits very close to home if you have ever found yourself staring at a screen full of raw data and just feeling your stress levels slowly rising.
Which is, let's be honest, pretty much everyone at some point.
Oh, totally. We are exploring a really fascinating guide designed specifically for healthcare administrators on how to make sense of complex data without needing a PhD in data science, thankfully.
Yeah, that's the crucial part.
Right. Our source material today comes from a specific course module, Module 5, and it's all about using AI tools for data interpretation. The stakes here are genuinely high for you, the listener.
Oh, definitely.
Whether you are prepping for a really tough budget meeting tomorrow morning, or maybe you're stepping into a new management role, or, you just fundamentally hate staring at spreadsheets.
I mean, who doesn't?
Right. Well, we are going to explore how AI functions as a high-powered data assistant. But more importantly, we're going to map out the exact blind spots where that assistant can lead you straight off a cliff into a professional disaster.
Yeah, and the shift from the earlier modules to this one is, it's pretty significant.
Okay, let's unpack this because earlier on we were focused entirely on using AI for research, right?
Exactly. The earlier discussions were heavily focused on looking outward, seeing what the world knows, summarizing medical journals, or looking up management theories.
Right, gathering external info.
Yeah, but Module 5 flips the lens entirely. Data interpretation is all about looking inward. It's about understanding what your own organization is actually doing, based purely on the numbers it generates.
And the daily reality of a healthcare administrator is pretty much dictated by those numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just a constant, unrelenting downpour of metrics.
Oh, total avalanche.
Yeah, you are managing patient volume by department. You're tracking staffing ratios across different shifts to make sure you have coverage.
Overtime trends, too.
Right, overtime trends, budget variance reports, quality and safety metrics, patient readmission rates. I mean, it just never ends.
No, it really doesn't.
These numbers are populating daily dashboards. They're arriving in your inbox at like 6:00 a.m. as CSV files.
The worst way to start a morning.
Seriously. And then they're handed to you in these massive printouts during committee meetings.
Well, and the underlying tension that the source material identifies here is this massive expectation gap.
Yeah.
There is a profound and often unspoken pressure on healthcare administrators to just, glance at a wall of data, instantly comprehend the narrative it forms, and then turn around and explain it.
Right. Explain it to leadership or frontline staff.
Exactly. People who absolutely do not have the time to look at the raw data themselves.
And that expectation gap exists because, well, let's be real, most administrators did not enter the healthcare field because they have this deep, burning passion for statistical modeling.
Right. They usually come from clinical backgrounds.
Yeah, they might have been a floor nurse for 10 years before moving into management. Or they come from a general business background, human resources, maybe a liberal arts discipline.
They know how to manage people,
Yeah.
right? And patient care, not necessarily how to pivot a massive data set.
Exactly. I was thinking about this. It feels a bit like being handed the controls to a massive commercial airplane when your entire background and training was just in passenger hospitality.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. Like you absolutely know what a good, smooth flight looks like. You know how to keep the passengers safe and comfortable.
You know the destination.
Yeah. You know where we're going.
Hmm.
But you do not know how to read the complex blinking instrument panel in the cockpit.
No, not at all.
But I have to ask the obvious question here. If reading that instrument panel is so incredibly complex, why put this burden on the administrator at all? Like, shouldn't these large healthcare organizations just hire dedicated data scientists to analyze all this stuff?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source material is actually very explicit about delineating those roles, and it explains exactly why the administrator remains in the hot seat.
Okay, I'm listening.
Administrators are rarely, if ever, asked to build a statistical model from scratch. They are not being asked to run a multiple regression analysis.
Right, they aren't building complex mathematical formulas to prove which variable out of 50 caused an outcome to a 99% certainty.
Exactly. That highly technical computation, that is the work of data analysts, finance teams, quality improvement statisticians.
Right. The analysts are the ones providing the dense multi-page reports.
They do. They build the dashboards, they pull the queries. The administrator's job is fundamentally different. Their job is to interpret what those numbers actually mean for daily operations.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, they have to communicate those findings clearly to stakeholders and then recommend actual business decisions based on that data.
Okay, let's ground this a bit. The text provided some really good scenarios.
Yeah, let's look at those.
So imagine your vice president pulls you aside in the hallway, right? Just totally casually, and asks you to explain why overtime costs in the medical surgical unit have spiked for 3 consecutive months.
Right. The data scientist already proved the spike exists. Your VP wants to know the operational why.
Exactly. Or, say a board member wants a high-level yearly summary of patient satisfaction trends, but they only have 3 minutes to review it before a huge meeting.
You can't just hand them the raw survey data.
No way. Or the quality team hands you a dense 40-page report on readmission rates, and you have to present the 3 most critical takeaways at a Tuesday morning department meeting.
To 30 exhausted clinicians who just finished a 12-hour shift.
Right. Good luck keeping them awake with a spreadsheet. In every single one of these scenarios, the raw data already exists. It is sitting right there on your desk.
Yeah, your job is to spot what matters. You have to distinguish, normal operational friction from a genuine anomaly.
And then translate that mathematical reality into plain language that actually drives action.
Exactly.
But since the administrator's real job is that translation, rather than the calculation, we run into a major bottleneck.
A huge one.
Yeah, staring at raw spreadsheets to find those anomalies takes hours that they simply do not have, which is why the sudden arrival of conversational AI has completely flipped the timeline on this work.
Oh, it's a total game changer.
It really is. The source material outlines this fantastic, highly practical scenario that I want to walk through, because it shows exactly how AI acts as a computational shortcut, like a bridge, for people who hate math.
Yeah, the emergency department example in the text perfectly illustrates this workflow shift.
Right. So imagine you have a spreadsheet. It shows the monthly emergency department visits for your hospital over the past 12 months.
Just hundreds of rows and columns.
Yeah, dates, times, volume numbers. Just a massive wall of text. Instead of opening up a statistics textbook or trying to build pivot tables, you simply highlight that block of data.
You copy it.
You copy it and paste it directly into an AI tool like Claude or ChatGPT. And then you ask a very simple conversational question. What trends do you see in this data?
And the output you receive is genuinely staggering if you're used to doing this manually.
Oh, for sure.
The text points out that in about 2 minutes, the AI is going to deliver a result that would normally take a manager 30 minutes.
30 minutes of staring at the screen, sorting columns, building formulas, and the response is not just a regurgitation of the numbers either. The AI provides a remarkably clean narrative. It notes that visits increased steadily from January through April.
Right.
It spots a slight dip in May. It then highlights a sharp, dramatic spike in July and August before pointing out that the numbers returned to their normal baseline in the fall.
And it goes even further than just summarizing the timeline. The AI will automatically calculate the percentage increases during those peak months, so you have the exact figures ready to go.
Which is so helpful.
Yeah, and impressively, it will often cross-reference its broad training data to flag that summer spikes are a very common pattern in emergency departments nationally.
Wait, really? It just pulls that in?
Yeah, it knows that's usually driven by an increase in trauma incidents, outdoor accidents, heat-related visits, things like that. So it gives you the math and a highly plausible hypothesis.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. I'll be honest. If I am an overwork administrator, right, and I see an AI do 30 minutes of math in 2 minutes, and it calculates the percentages perfectly and writes a flawless narrative summary about summer heat waves, my first instinct is to copy that summary, paste it into an email, and send it straight to my VP.
I mean, it's tempting.
Right? Why shouldn't I? The math is accurate, the grammar is perfect, and my job is done for the morning. I can go get a coffee.
Well, what's fascinating here is that taking that output at face value and forwarding it to your boss without intervening is a massive professional liability.
Really? a liability.
Absolutely. The speed and the sheer confidence of the AI actually mask a dangerous blind spot.
Okay, tell me more.
The AI is exceptionally good at identifying surface-level mathematical patterns, right? But it completely lacks any organizational context.
Ah, okay, I get it. It's like, okay, think of a brilliant, world-class detective who refuses to ever leave their desk.
I like this.
Yeah, so you bring them the physical evidence from the crime scene, and they analyze it flawlessly. They can tell you the exact chemical composition of the mud on a suspect's shoe.
Right. Down to the molecule.
Exactly. But they have absolutely no idea what happened right outside the frame of the crime scene. They don't know there is a massive muddy construction site right next door to the victim's house.
Because you didn't bring them the construction site.
Exactly.
Let's apply that detective analogy back to the emergency department data to unpack those blind spots. So the AI saw the massive volume spike in July and August.
Right, the heat wave theory.
Yes. It confidently assumed, based on general statistical averages of thousands of other hospitals, that it was due to summer trauma and heat waves.
Which sounds completely plausible.
It does. And the math supports an increase. But the human administrator knows the actual reality of their specific hospital.
Because the human knows the real story.
Yeah.
The text actually gives us the real context of those numbers, right?
Exactly.
So the AI noted a steady volume increase starting in March. The AI doesn't know why, it just sees the line going up. But the administrator knows that in March, the ED deliberately expanded its operating hours and opened a new fast-track triage lane.
Yes. And that massive spike in July, it was not driven by a local heat wave.
Not at all.
The administrator knows that spike occurred because a neighboring hospital down the street suddenly had to close its own emergency department for major plumbing renovations.
Oh, wow, plumbing issues.
Yeah, so the human administrator signed a temporary diversion agreement to take all of their overflow traffic. The AI cannot see the hospital down the street. It only sees the numbers in the spreadsheet.
And what about the leveling off in September? The AI just assumes the summer season ended and trauma cases dropped, right?
Right. But the administrator knows the numbers stabilized because the organization entirely changed its internal staffing model and admission protocols that month.
Basically clearing out the waiting room faster.
Exactly. The core insight of this entire module is that an AI cannot turn a mathematical pattern into a true operational insight on its own.
It just sees numbers going up and down.
Yeah, it does not know the why behind those movements.
So if you take that context-free analysis, like the AI's confident assertion about heat waves and summer trauma, and you present that to your leadership as the truth.
You risk telling a story that is technically accurate in its math, but substantively misleading in its reality.
Yeah, you could send your VP down an absolute rabbit hole. I mean, they might start allocating next year's budget to prepare for severe heat waves, when the real variable driving your volume was just a one-time diversion agreement that will never happen again.
Precisely. Your professional judgment and your lived experience within the walls of that specific organization are absolutely irreplaceable. AI gives you the baseline, but you have to anchor it to reality.
Because the AI lacks this vital context and can so easily mislead leadership if left unchecked, we run into the need for a formal framework to process all of this data.
Yes, exactly.
The source material calls this vital human intervention the translation layer.
Right. And to fully grasp the translation layer, we really need to contextualize it within the broader learning journey the source material has been building up to.
Okay, let's do that.
Earlier modules tackled different ways humans must intervene with AI. Like Module 3 introduced the editing layer.
Right, which is the process of reviewing and revising AI-generated communications like emails or policy memos to ensure the tone is appropriate before they're sent out.
Exactly. And then Module 4 introduced the verification layer. That's the vital process of fact-checking AI-generated research to ensure it hasn't hallucinated a fake medical study.
Basically making sure the AI isn't confidently lying to you.
Exactly. But here in Module 5, we arrive at the translation layer. And this is not just about checking for tone or factual accuracy.
What is it then?
Translation is the active process of taking raw data, or, the AI's first pass interpretation of that data, and actively molding it into actionable information designed for a very specific audience.
Okay, so what does this actually mean for you, the listener, on a random Tuesday morning when your boss is knocking on your door wanting a report? How does applying this translation layer practically work? What is the actual mechanic of doing this?
Well, the mechanic revolves entirely around understanding your audience and the specific decisions they need to make today.
Okay.
The exact same data set will tell vastly different stories depending on who is sitting across the table from you. A high-level stakeholder summary designed for your vice president of finance requires a completely different altitude of information than, say, a detailed operational briefing for your frontline nursing staff.
Right, because the VP of Finance wants to know the long-term budget impact of the overtime spike, while the frontline staff just wants to know if they're going to be shorthanded on Friday night and what the new protocol is.
Exactly. And a presentation to the board of directors requires an even broader strategic view compared to a highly specialized report you're giving to a clinical quality improvement committee.
That makes a lot of sense.
The source material implies a specific mental checklist you have to run the AI's output through. Let's call it the so what filter.
The so what filter, I like that.
Yeah. If the data point the AI highlighted does not change the audience's immediate next action or decision, you cut it from the report. Translation is curating the narrative.
And this is where the mechanics of prompting the AI become really important, right? You don't just ask the AI to summarize the data.
Right. You actively collaborate with it to target these different audiences. You can go back into Claude and use a very specific prompt.
Like what?
You might say, act as a critical VP of finance. Review this readmission data and tell me the top 3 questions you would ask about the financial impact.
Oh, that's smart.
Or take this clinical trend report and summarize it for a non-technical staff audience in 3 bullet points, focusing only on workflow changes.
And the tool will produce a very usable draft, tailored to those constraints very quickly.
It will, but just like with the emergency department example, that draft requires you to apply the translation layer. You have to review the AI's tailored draft through the lens of your organizational reality.
Okay, let's look at a concrete example of a bad AI draft versus a good human-corrected draft for a VP. So a raw AI draft, even when asked to focus on finance, might simply output. Readmissions in the cardiac step-down unit increased by 4.2% in Q2, resulting in a proportional increase in uncompensated care costs.
Right, which is just reporting the math with a slightly financial spin. It makes the VP's eyes glaze over because it doesn't give them a path forward.
It completely fails the so what filter.
Exactly. But the human administrator looks at that AI draft and applies their unique context. The human knows that the VP is currently deciding on next year's budget, specifically regarding a freeze on hiring discharge coordinators.
Oh, okay. So the human takes that mathematically accurate AI draft and translates it into an actual business case.
Exactly. So the translation isn't just cutting words down, it's entirely reframing the math around a pending decision.
Right. So the human-corrected draft would say something like, cardiac readmissions rose 4% this quarter, directly due to the recent hiring freeze on discharge coordinators. Approving the pending headcount request for 2 new coordinators will reverse this trend and eliminate the associated uncompensated care costs by Q3.
Yes. See, the AI found the 4% increase in seconds, but the human gave that 4% meaning and tied it to a specific lever the VP can pull.
You also have to use the translation layer to avoid raising false alarms, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because the AI might flag a sudden catastrophic drop in patient volume on a random Tuesday in November, and an administrator who just copy-pastes that to the board is going to cause a massive panic.
Yeah, but the human administrator applying the translation layer knows that specific Tuesday was a major system-wide software migration, and data entry was simply paused for 12 hours.
Right.
This raises an important question, though, regarding professional risk, because it highlights the ultimate lesson of the source material regarding the modern workplace.
Yeah.
We are all being pushed to move faster, to process more data, to generate reports quicker, but speed without judgment is a profound organizational liability.
It really is.
The administrator who simply pastes a data set into an AI, copies the output verbatim, and hits send to leadership without adding their organizational context, they are taking a massive professional risk. They are abandoning their primary value to the organization.
Yeah, they're basically letting the blinking instrument panel fly the airplane, just hoping it knows where the runway is.
Perfectly said. The real work of management today is using AI for the heavy lifting, the pattern recognition, the baseline math, the initial drafting of the memos.
And then thoughtfully layering in your human knowledge.
Exactly. The tools handle the computation. You handle the meaning.
The tools handle the computation, you handle the meaning. I love that. If you are living your life in that glowing matrix of spreadsheets, AI is your ultimate shortcut.
Without a doubt.
It will find the patterns, it will calculate the percentages, and draft the narratives in a fraction of the time it used to take. It will totally save you from the tyranny of the blank page and the dense CSV file. But you are the essential contextual engine. You are the only one who knows about the hospital under construction down the street, or the staffing change last month, or the hiring freeze on discharge coordinators.
You're the one connecting the dots.
Right. You are the one who makes those numbers meaningful and actionable for your specific audience.
Well, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, something that builds directly on the tension we've been discussing today.
Okay, hit me.
We have spent this entire time talking about how you, the administrator, use AI to translate data for your leadership. But think about the downstream effect of this new technology. What happens when your VP or your board members start taking your carefully crafted, human contextualized reports and pasting those reports back into their own AI tools to summarize them further?
Oh, wow. Because they're too busy to read them.
Exactly. If everyone in the chain of command begins relying on AI to translate the translators, how do we ensure the vital human context we work so hard to include doesn't eventually just get stripped away and lost in the machine?
Oh, that's wild. It's like a corporate game of automated telephone, where the context just slowly fades away until only the raw numbers are left.
Precisely.
That is a slightly terrifying, but incredibly important thing to watch out for as these tools become ubiquitous. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Well, it's a pleasure.
As you head into your budget meetings and data reviews this week, just remember, the AI can read the instrument panel far faster than you ever could, but you are the only one who knows how to fly the plane. Bring your context to the data. We will catch you next time.